As recently as the 1990s, when I was a kid and forming my own tastes in food, olive oil was sort of a gourmet ingredient. It was for people who had like a real interest in international cooking or people who had lived overseas or had family from overseas, especially Southern Europe. But it was not something that just sat in every kitchen in America, or in this case, over half of kitchens in America now. And the olive oil growers of Southern Europe wanted to change that. So they started a series of these really luxurious junkets where they would bring American food world stars overseas and sort of wine them and dine them and teach them about the culinary foodways of the region. And front and center all the time was olive oil. And this worked really, really well. A lot of people at those junkets hosted cooking shows, wrote cookbooks, and included this like wonderful, like heart healthy fat in their recommendations. And that's sort of where the Mediterranean diet came from. That's where most of America's education on olive oil started then.
I gotta say, in my own home, there was a transition from Crisco, the Crisco cans
Interesting.
that my mom would use for like making French fries or fried chicken and so on and so forth, or fried fish. And then it got to those big cans of, I can't remember the olive oil brand.
But it was olive oil. It wasn't like
Eventually.
wasn't a vegetable
Yeah,
oil
well,
or like
Oh,
a.
but then you went through some vegetable.
Yeah.
Like, we went through all these different phases. But now I know my own home, for the most part, it's all olive oil.
Yeah, Crisco, fascinatingly, also sort of an invention of convenience. It was an industrial byproduct, which is why it existed. We used a lot of that when I was a kid because I'm from Georgia, so there was a lot of Crisco available in my household. But now my mom cooks with olive oil. It was a very very um, effective set of junkets, a
How
marketing effort, basically.
how big is the olive oil market?
In the US, it's $7 billion, but the US is still a minority player globally in the olive oil market. It is many, many times that around the world. Per capita, Spain, Greece, Italy all consume like many, many times what Americans consume. But we still are a big player because we import almost all of our olive oil. So for those countries, the American market is very, very important.
Okay, well, we got to talk about the next evolution of olive oil, which is what your story for Bloomberg Business Week focuses on. It's the olive oil in a squeeze bottle. Talk to us about what's going on with Andrew Benin and Graza.
Sign me up, man.
Well, Graza debuted just a couple of years ago, and they make olive oil that is mostly from the Spanish Picual olive, which is a very common varietal that is used in olive oil. And their real insight when they were developing this product was that olive oil packaging leaves a lot to be desired. In the market up until this point, there had been plastic bottles that were like not squeezable, that were mostly just bulk hard plastic containers, the kind of thing that you would see at Costco often. Or there were, for sort of like nicer bottles, there were glass, and glass is heavy, glass is unwieldy, it gets very slippery when it gets oily, which it does because olive oil is all over the place. And the spouts that it comes out of, they're hard to control. You have to get your finger over it. And if you're using a big glass bottle, there's a lot of opportunity for mishaps, for overdosing, things like that, of whatever recipe that you're making. So they put their olive oil, which is sort of mid-priced, into these like soft plastic squeeze bottles that sort of ape what line cooks use at restaurants. But you don't have to buy the bulk olive oil and fill them yourself and buy the squeeze bottle separately. And they made it in two varieties. One is called Sizzle, one is called Drizzle. So if you are a new cook, if you're a young cook, if you're just figuring out how to use basic ingredients for yourself, you know which one is the one intended to be heated up and which one is the sort of fancier one that's intended to be put on salad dressing, to be used in salad dressing, put on bread, things like that. So they made a commodity product really really memorable and really useful for people who were just learning.